Opportunity is always found where nobody else is looking. It's very quiet around Pudgy penguins right now, but that might be the opportunity. When we look at the historical price development of Pudgy penguins, it seems like there is potential upside for another 100% from here. But what's the risk versus reward? Let's have a look at the data. This here is the long-term Pengu chart. It seems to be trading in a range, and this dotted line over here, that's the average Pudgy penguins price. If we go from our current price level to the historical average, the token would appreciate by more than 105%. Is that a realistic scenario though? Pudgy penguins is the third most viewed cryptocurrency on CoinGecko, and it's also the third largest meme coin on the Solana chain. It's currently got a market cap of a bit under 500 million, and if Pengu was to double from here, it would climb to the first spot, which is currently held by the official Trump token. Now the issue in crypto is that we've got a lot of correlation. So Pudgy penguins will have a hard time appreciating if Bitcoin, for example, was to go down. So let's say this here was Bitcoin, then Pudgy penguins could look rather like this, right? Much more volatility. Pengu is launched on the Solana chain though. So really, when we run the numbers, Pudgy penguins is much more going in line with the Solana price. In general, the ups and downs of crypto are somewhat synced. But let's say Solana sees a sudden surprise rally, then Pengu is very likely going to emulate that as well, even if Bitcoin is not affected. And so that's why it makes sense to look at relative valuations of Pudgy penguins to Solana. How is Pengu performing relative to Solana? Because the Solana price has a big impact on Pengu as well. And we have broken out of our negative trend. Since the middle of February, so for roughly 1 month, we are not declining versus Solana anymore. Now that's bullish. What's not so bullish though, is that Pengu relative to its ratio to Solana has much less upside potential if we were just revisiting the long-term equilibrium, right? The average ratio, the dotted line. There's only 19% outperformance, not 105%. And so really, we can't look at Pudgy penguins in isolation. We have to look at what is Solana likely going to do from here. Here is Solana's dominance. How much of all of crypto is currently in Solana in percent? It tends to top at around 4%. It tends to bottom at around 0.5%. When we look at the correlation to Bitcoin's price, we can see that when Bitcoin sells off, Solana tends to sell off even more. When Bitcoin recovers, Solana tends to recover more. So Solana, to a degree, is a levered bet on Bitcoin. And so that's what this drawing is showing. Bitcoin is going up and down just a bit. Solana is going up and down more. And then Pudgy penguins levers this up even more. Now Pengu is not your typical meme coin. Pengu has actually tokenomics. So early investors and the team, they get Pengu allocation over time that they can potentially sell. If the supply grows faster than the demand, that's a recipe for falling prices. Here we've got Pudgy penguins relative to the altcoin market cap. So that's now the altcoins that are not in the top 10. It's called others. And we can see how Pengu tends to trade again around an equilibrium. And here the potential outperformance versus the rest of the altcoin market is 44%. So really we need the overall market to go up for Pudgy penguins to amplify this. Now I always try to understand the fundamentals of why is a price going up or down. Who is buying and who is selling? And that's a nice thing about crypto, right? We can have a look at the on-chain metrics. We know who is holding a particular token. Is it many retail investors that are accumulating? Is it a few whales that are pushing up the price? Let's have a look at the on-chain data. We see that over here. On the left side, we've got the number of wallets with at least 100,000 Pengu tokens. Now that's a bit under $1,000 worth of the token. So at the current price, it's roughly $808. In the middle, we have 1 million Pengu tokens held in a wallet. On the right, we've got 10 million Pengu tokens. So that's now equating to $8,000 and to $80,000. We can see how the whales, while they sold quite a bit at the end of 2025, they are now buying since the middle of December. And that also explains why Pengu stopped underperforming Solana. It was since the middle of December. The whales, they stopped the bearish trend. They bought up Pudgy penguins. And in general, I like those kind of developments because the whales are whales for a reason, right? Crypto is a game of skill and luck. And the more the game is played, the more the capital accumulates towards the people that have skill. So when the skilled people, the whales, they are buying, they might know something that most people don't. But outside of the spot market, outside of the holding of wallets on chain, we've also got the bets on the price. And they tend to move the price much more in the short term. So in the last 24 hours, we only had 10 million worth of trading volume on the spot market. On the perpetual futures market, we had 55 million on the largest exchange. So much more trading on the perps compared to spot. But still, the amount of bets on the perpetual futures on Pudgy Penguins is very, very low. So that's the open interest. How many bets are currently on Pengu? And there is a strong correlation between the amounts of bets and the spot price. When there's more bets, the spot price goes up. When there's less bets, the spot price goes down. This is caused by arbitrage bots that balance out the trading on the spot market when heavy bets are made on the perpetual futures market. There's also a lot of correlation between the trading volume and the Pengu price. So when more people trade the token, when there's more attention on the token, the spot price is high. When there's less attention, the spot price is low. And currently the attention is very, very low, which would justify potentially an entry. Now let's run together a simulation of buying and selling the Pengu token. Is there maybe a way to time those ups and downs properly using moving averages, for example? But before we do that, if you so far got some value out of this video, feel free to give it a like. And if it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe as well. I publish videos on Pengu regularly on this channel. So let's go to the Bitcoin strategy analytics tool. Let's select Pudgy Penguins and let's find the best moving average. Let's go both long and short. So we bet on rising and on falling prices, and let's not yet introduce any leverage. So let's run the back test and then we get the best simple moving average for Pudgy Penguins. It's the 85-day simple moving average. How does this look like over time? So let's look at Pengu. Let's take the 85-day simple moving average without any leverage at all and let the backtester do the magic. And that's the chart. We interestingly enough do have our failed signals here, but in general, it does outperform buying and holding quite a bit. But what are the numbers? Let's have a look. If you just bought and held Pengu from the very beginning, you'd now be down 67%. Following the 85-day simple moving average, you'd have an annual return of 71%. So $100 would have turned into almost $200. The maximum drawdown moves from 91% to only 74%. And of course, the Sharpe ratio and the Sortino ratio is much, much higher. Here's the explanation for what the Sharpe is doing. Here's the explanation of what Sortino is doing. So let's draw this 85-day simple moving average in the chart. Where is potentially our purchase level? The answer is it is not far away from the current price level. We haven't yet crossed it, unfortunately. Pengu has to perform another 7%. This is just the US dollar chart. So let's say Bitcoin goes up by 3 or 4%, Solana goes up by 5%, Pengu then might go up by 7 or 8% and then cross that resistance. Historically, that was a great trigger to buy Pengu. What's the price after a 7% increase? The answer is 0.86 cents. So now we are at 0.80, 0.86 is the potential breakout point. Again, if the asset trades in a similar manner as it had in the past. This is historically the best moving average. Now I've run all kinds of analyses on various assets. This tool, by the way, is available to the premium members as well. We will open a copy trading vault for trading Solana as well. So you can simply deposit your capital into the vault. Here is the backtested result without any leverage. So quite constant, promising returns. This is assuming that we bet the same amount of capital with every trade. We don't use any leverage. Of course, we will then pimp this up with some leverage to improve the returns. But the signal strength seems to be quite strong. There's already a capital pool for Bitcoin that has gone up by roughly 10%, while Bitcoin lost almost half of its value. There's also a capital pool for Ethereum that's up 40%, and that started 2 months ago, while Ethereum lost. Again, with a similar strategy, we just try to find the best trend following indicator. And the same will launch for Solana this month. So again, feel free to check out Premium if you're interested in that. If you got some value out of this video, feel free to give it a like. It helps the channel grow. Feel free to also subscribe. I publish videos on Pudgy Penguins and on Solana regularly on this channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Cheers.